Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Developing an Effective Business Continuity Plan. Firstly, you may notice that I do not have the dulcet tones of our Managing Director, Rupert Carthy. Unfortunately, when the webinar was first presented on Friday, 1st of May 2020, we had some technical difficulties, and therefore we decided to re-record the webinar so that people could still access the information. So, by means of an introduction, my name is Laura Sant, and I'm a Director of Carthy Accountants, as well as being Rupert's daughter. You will be pleased to hear that the technical content remains the same as the original webinar, but hopefully can be heard more clearly on this version. All the people on the webinar today are business owners. The range listening is from one-man owner-managed businesses to people employing 50 or more people, and pretty much everything in between. We have pubs and hairdressers, for example, who cannot trade and have no funds coming in. We also have online sales businesses where sales are currently booming, but they have different challenges, like getting hold of stock to sell, for example. The purpose of sharing this is to make the point that every business is different. Therefore, every plan will be different. There is no one size fits all. Imagine two identical businesses in terms of what they sell, size, turnover, staffing, and profitability. We're beginning to think that they need the same plan. However, if I tell you that one has £500,000 in the bank and the other one runs on an overdraft, suddenly we see the need for totally different plans. Therefore, I encourage you to listen to the content, which is fairly broad, and take away the things that are relevant to you and your business. So let's take a look at today's agenda. We're going to start by going back to basics and remind ourselves why we go into business in the first place. We're going to get our mindset right to make sure that we give ourselves the best opportunity of coming out of this crisis at the other side. We're going to be looking at things to consider when building your plan. We'll be looking at the support that is being offered at this time. And we'll be looking at a summary of what we've discussed and what to do next. Unfortunately, as we have re-recorded this webinar, there will not be a question and answer session on this recording, but we will include details of who to contact should you need any further information at the end of this presentation. So for now, let's go back to basics. I'd like you to think back to when you first went into business on your own and remind yourself why. I know my own answers for this and thousands of other businesses because I've asked them, and it always comes down to three basic reasons with differing importance depending on the business owner in question. They thought they could earn more money. They wanted to have the ability to choose when they worked and take more holidays and spend more time with the children, etc. So to have that time freedom. And they didn't want bosses telling them what to do or deciding their future. They wanted to make those decisions themselves. Now, if your business was not delivering this prior to lockdown, it's not miraculously going to do it afterwards. You may have some time on your hands, and now is a great time not only to think of your short-term crisis plan, but also to think a bit more about your longer-term 5 and 10-year plans. So let's move on to think a bit about the right mindset. To put us all in the right frame of mind, I want to share a powerful business model called OARBED. In times of crises, we have two choices about how we can respond. We can act below the line or act above the line. Below the line actions would go something along these lines. You could blame someone else for bringing a virus into our country. You could make excuses about why there is nothing we can do about it. Or you could even go into denial that there's even an issue, and in doing so put ourselves, our team and our businesses at great risk. Or we could act above the line. We can take ownership that we can and we must do something to protect ourselves and our business, even if that does mean closing the business. We can recognise that we are accountable to our team and our customers at their time of greatest need. We can take responsibility for protecting ourselves, our team, our customers, and our business in these difficult times. The fundamental mindset here is that we have a choice and we mustn't take on a victim mindset in these times. The most inspirational response I've personally seen is from a teenager who had a fledgling business. From day one, they have chosen to act above the line, and in these difficult times, the business has gone from strength to strength. So now we're in the right frame of mind. Where do we start? Now, Richard Branson has got some ideas about this. So thinking about who we need to look after in these times, first and foremost, it is about you as the owner. But we also need to think about our team, and we need to think about our customers, and we need to look after our business. And what we find as owners is that all of our energy is split between the team, the customers, and the business itself, with very little time to look after ourselves. We're spread thinly, and we don't satisfy the team, the customers, or look after our business properly. So Richard Branson gives us a very useful model to follow. He says, clients do not come first, employees come first. If you take care of your employees, they will take care of the clients. So if we have a team, even if these are contractors, make sure as an owner that you are doing whatever you can to look after them. By looking after your team well, they will be well equipped to look after your customers. You might, for example, talk to your team about a change in your sales plan to cope with these challenging times, maybe a new product or service, and the team can pass on this message to existing or new customers. If you change your sales message and your team look after existing customers or find new customers, then these customers will then in turn look after your business. And if this new sales plan is in place, the business will then look after you as the owner. I appreciate that this may seem oversimplified and some of you on this webinar won't have a team, but the point is that it all starts with you as the owner acting above the line. Remember, you need to make a new plan now. It should start with your team. They can then look after your customers so you don't get overwhelmed. If you don't have a team, the plan needs to start with your customers who will then look after the business, etc. Today is about us wanting to help you build this plan as the business owner. So knowing that the Sir Richard Branson model starts with you as the business owner, let's talk about what you can do to improve your resilience right now. Your well-being is critical. Remember to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. Make sure you stay healthy, get as much sleep as you can, keep your exercise going, and get support if you need it. Select your information sources carefully and try to minimise time spent on social media about this issue. Stay calm, stay connected with friends and family, and stay positive. Remember who is important to you. You are no use to your family if you're not there for them. Have you thought about wills and lasting powers of attorney? One of the biggest drains on business is usually the amount of funds taken out by the owners. And usually the funds extracted are necessary to meet personal overheads. It might be worth asking the question whether there's anything that you can do to reduce these at this time. So, by this point, we've empowered our team, we've got ourselves right. Now we need to talk to our customers. The support you offer your customers now will impact the support your customers give you in the future. Customers need to be communicated with and be reassured that you're still operating and you're taking specific measures to mitigate their exposure to this virus. Your policy should cover the steps your business is taking to protect your customers. share this information with them to offer reassurance that you're taking every practicable step to reduce the risk and protect both your customers and your team. Review your terms of trade and update the terms to reflect your changing business practices. Share your updated terms of trade with your customers, highlighting key changes. In particular, review your payment terms and delivery terms. Remember to enforce your terms of trade at this time. Don't let customers avoid paying you, as this could have a material impact on the sustainability of your business. Just as we mentioned earlier, to put the oxygen mask on yourself first, it is essential that you make sure you have sufficient cash coming into your business from your customers. Cash is the oxygen your business needs to survive. We will talk more about cash flow management shortly, as there are always things you can do here. To improve your cash flow, you can make a plan for dealing with your suppliers. Where you can, negotiate new payment terms with your suppliers. If you can pay up front, ask for a prompt payment discount. If you don't have sufficient cash flow to pay up front, ask to pay over a longer period of time, or ask if it's possible to hold stock on consignment, where you only pay the supplier once you've sold that stock. Discuss your supplier's supply chain and the measures they're taking to continue to supply. Ask about their contingency plans for what may happen if deliveries can't be made or supplies can't be obtained. Consider whether you need to order additional stock while it's available, if it's likely to become scarce in the coming months. Reduce your current minimum reordering levels and consider whether there are some items of stock that should not be reordered at all. Review your supplier contracts in regard to the return of stock. Discuss whether you can return excess stock that isn't selling. Ensure contracts are updated if any terms change. And if you cannot return stock, then consider discounting slow-moving stock to convert it back to cash and don't reorder the same stock. Review the contracts you have with suppliers. Is there a clause which would allow you to cancel orders or change the terms in this current crisis? If you cannot meet the terms of your contract, seek legal advice and negotiate with the supplier. One of the most important ways to improve your business is to shorten your cash conversion cycle. In other words, get your cash quicker. So let's take a look at a typical example. A business buys stock from suppliers and on average must pay the suppliers 45 days after buying the stock. The stock doesn't sell immediately. Some stock sells quickly, whereas other stock takes longer, and eventually some stock has to be discounted to get it to move at all. And on average, we'll say stock is held for 60 days. Oh, excuse me. When the stock is sold, credit terms are provided to customers, but a number of customers are not observing these credit terms. And on average, it takes 60 days for customers to pay. So now we can calculate the cash conversion cycle. 60 days average stock holding plus 60 days to get paid by customers, less the 45 days credit that we're provided by our suppliers, equals 75 days to convert purchases sold into cash. In difficult times such as this, we need to ensure you have a plan in place to shorten this cash conversion cycle. And this is a process we would recommend you do as part of your business continuity plan. Using the numbers from your most recent management accounts, and most of you are now keeping records on cloud-based software such as Xero, FreeAgent or QuickBooks, and assuming it's up to date, we can work out the numbers and your cash conversion cycle can be calculated. Your plan should consider how to shorten this cash cycle and free up more cash. So for example, if your debtors are £50,000 and your turnover is £500,000 per annum, a 10-day reduction in your cash conversion cycle is worth £13,700 to you. Now that is cash that you really could do with right now, I'm sure. So part of completing your business continuity plan is to work out how to free up as much cash flow as possible using this model. A common scenario in our meetings with clients shows how often they get profit and cash availability mixed up. Simply put, profit is what you pay tax on, cash is the oxygen your business needs to survive. We are often asked to check our work because the profit figure and hence tax payable cannot be right. We explain that it is right and are asked quite often, well, where is this profit then? Because we've not had it. And the answer is it's normally in a number of places, including other people's bank accounts, which are our debtors, which is the most common. Might be in our stock that we're holding, or if it's a services provider, in our work in progress. I never cease to be amazed at how many builders, for example, will fund a build for one of their customers, costing tens of thousands of pounds, hoping that they get paid in due course. And of course, sometimes they don't. Therefore, if we can improve our cash conversion cycle and make plans to maximise our profit, then we should see more cash flow into the business, and we need it at this time. How you increase profit is to improve revenue or sales, which is very difficult in these challenging times, but still possible. Or alternatively, you can increase margin or efficiency or trim overhead expenses. So now it's a very good time to be looking closely at the opportunities such as potential new revenue lines, for example, making alcohol gels. We work with a group of other accountants, and one of their clients has converted their product offering to make alcohol gels, and is online to make £1 million in a 3-month period. You could also consider new potential customers. There may be people who you've tried before that may now be in the market to be looking for a new supplier. You could try changing your sales strategy, or what you can do to avoid losing existing customers. For example, do you need to go online? If you're a food provider, do you need to deliver, etc. At the same time, you ought to be looking at how you can improve your margins via efficiency gains and better purchasings. You can be looking to make reductions in errors and wastage, or simply discontinuing with products or services that have a poor margin. Once you've derived your profit, you need to turn that into cash. Profitable businesses can and do go broke at times like these. You need to be looking at how you can maximise your cash flow using strategies to get paid quicker, reduce stock or work in progress, or by negotiating better terms with your suppliers. So, if we start now by looking at the business growth equation, we'll look at 7 ways to grow your business that you may or may not have seen before. So you can look to increase client retention rate. What can you do to delight your clients right now? Many of them will also be struggling, so stay in contact and see how you can hold on to their business wherever possible. It's also worth mentioning at this stage that it's important not to buy the business. It's only worth keeping that custom if you're going to be making enough to survive on. You can increase your leads generated. So you should be also looking for new avenues to attract potential new customers. Increasing your marketing using cost-effective methods such as social media could be a great way to attract new business. Make sure you are making it as easy as possible to buy from you without giving your value or your product away. For example, can you offer delivery or online ordering options at this time? Can you encourage your customers to buy more from you? Are there other supporting products or services that they are not aware of? What can you do to encourage customers to come back more regularly? For example, locking in their next purchase or order at the end of the current transaction, or at least asking for a referral for a new customer if your work is more of a one-off nature. What can you do to preserve your current margins? Can you reduce errors or rework, get a better price from your suppliers, or focus on the products or services that give you the greatest margin? Which costs can be removed from your business altogether right now? Travel, entertainment, and vehicle costs could be a good place to start. Often, one of the highest overheads in businesses are interest costs to financiers. If you add the principal reductions required on loans as well, this can be a massive drain on businesses at this time. Here's a list of ways the bank or your other financiers could be able to help you. You must remember the adage, if you don't ask, you don't get. And part of your business continuity plan could include a discussion with your bank or financiers about how they can help you. The government have announced a number of schemes aimed at supporting business owners through this pandemic, and we have other webinars available on our website which cover these in a little more detail. However, it's worth quickly running through these or through some of the support that may be available at this time. Businesses can defer value-added tax payments for 3 months. UK VAT registered businesses with VAT payments due between the 20th of March 2020 and the 30th of June 2020 can choose to defer the payment until a later date or pay the VAT due as normal. Rather than laying off employees, employers can elect to furlough their staff. In order to do this, employers must submit information to HMRC about their furloughed employees, and HMRC will then reimburse 80% of the furloughed workers' wage costs, up to £2,500 per month. Employers will then have the choice as to whether or not they top this payment up to 100% of the employee's wages. The Self-Employment Income Support Scheme will support self-employed individuals, including members of partnerships, who have lost income due to COVID-19. The scheme is going to allow you to claim a taxable grant worth 80% of your trading profits, up to a maximum of £2,500 per month for the next 3 months, and this is expected to come live in June 2020. So the Chancellor has said that this could be extended if needed as well, beyond the first 3 months. The Coronavirus Statutory Sick Pay Rebate Scheme will repay employers the current rate of SSP that they need to pay to current or former employees for periods of sickness starting on or after 13th of March 2020. The repayment will cover up to 2 weeks starting from the very first day of sickness if an employee is unable to work because they either have coronavirus or cannot work because they're self-isolating at home. The Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme is a loan available to businesses which is interest-free for 12 months with no fees to pay. Now, there have been reports that businesses have found it incredibly difficult to access this scheme, as they need to be able to not only prove financial viability historically, but also in the future once the pandemic is over, which is actually very difficult to prove in most cases, and therefore lenders just don't seem to be lending. However, there is a new scheme that's just about to be introduced that will cover off in a short while. Small business, so for businesses that are eligible for small business rates relief or taper relief, i.e. they have a rateable value of up to £15,000, a £10,000 grant is available. Now, at this stage, your respective council is likely to have written to you if they believe that you are eligible for this grant. So for retail, hospitality, leisure and nursery businesses, there is a 12 months business rates holiday. Plus, there is a further £25,000 grant available if the rateable value of the property is between £15,000 and £51,000. For those where the rateable value is below £15,000, the grant would be the £10,000 grant that applies to the small business rates relief grant rather than the £25,000 grant. And finally, there is the bounce back loan, which is available from next Monday, the 4th of May 2020, where loans of up to £50,000 will be available to be applied for. They're going to be 100% guaranteed by the government. The application process will be more straightforward than the Coronavirus Business Interruption Loan Scheme. And the application process will involve only looking at historic viability. As well as no fees and interest being due for the first 12 months, there is also no repayments due for the first 12 months as well. So we've set out for you the mindsets you need to have in these difficult times, what you need to do to look after yourself, your team and your customers. We've shared some ideas for how you can improve your sales, margin, profit and cash flow, even if an improvement is simply slowing the speed of decline. We've shared in general terms what support is available from the government and other sources. Now it is essential that you decide what you're going to do. Clearly, doing nothing is not an option. Now is the time to put on the oxygen mask on yourself and make a plan to get through this crisis. Even if that plan involves closing your business, you are better off to make that decision sooner rather than later. Part of that planning should be to surround yourself with as much support as you can. Us, your bank, and your legal or HR advisors, we are all here to help you. Remember to stay above the line in your mindset and focus on what you can do. We can and we want to help you in these challenging times. As I've discussed, our recommended strategy is to complete a business continuity plan, and that's why we've developed a plan template and a guide to help you do this. There are 3 options available to you to complete this plan. The first option is that we share the plan template and guide with you, and you do the work yourself. The risk with this approach is that with everything else going on right now, you may not actually get around to doing the plan. The second option is that we share the plan template and guide with you so that you can complete the first draft of the plan on your own, and then we will then review your plan and hold a meeting with you to finalise it. This option suits people who feel comfortable preparing plans themselves and are not inundated with other things to do right now. The third option is to meet with us online so that we can do this together, either as one session of up to 4 hours or with 2 shorter online sessions. We do believe that combining your expertise with our expertise will result in a far better plan. Please note, we have reduced our fees to support you to take these options. We're here to help during this difficult time, and we're really not looking to profiteer from this work. However, we do have to ensure that we are in a position to pay our team at the end of the month. As mentioned earlier in the webinar, we've not included the question and answer session in this re-record, but if you do have any questions further to watching the webinar, or if you would like a template for the business continuity plan sending over to you, please email clientservices@carthyaccountants.co.uk or your main point of contact, and we would be happy to help. Thank you for making the time to attend this webinar. We really appreciate that your time is very valuable right now, and we hope we've given you plenty of ideas to think about and some clear options for how we can support you. Before we go, I thought I'd share this quote with you. Anyone can lead when the plan is working. The best lead when the plan falls apart. So let's make sure you have a new and better plan to get through this difficult time. Thank you for making the time to watch this webinar, and we'll see you again at our next webinar.